What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video with Aaliyah. Middle name Sharnice.
Hi.
Whatever her middle name is. We're reacting to TierZoo. You ever react to TierZoo before?
No, I've seen some videos.
You seen like some videos, a little bit. Yeah. TierZoo, he's pretty big, but a lot of people don't know about him. But we gonna get into a TierZoo video, our Centipedes OP. Me personally, I be hearing about those big centipedes, like what's on the screen right now. I be hearing about the big centipedes and shit like that. They be eating like birds and like rodents and stuff like that. So I get it.
Stuff like that.
I think Coyote Pearson, you know Coyote Pearson?
Yeah.
He got bit by one of them, and I think he was like, there's like a lot of venom and stuff in the bites. I guess so, but we can get into the video. Ew.
Oh, what the?
What? Oh, it bit its eye.
Oh my gosh!
It came out of nowhere.
Centipedes are without a doubt one of the most terrifying builds in the entire
Wow,
They're also one of the oldest. They're part of an ancient lineage called myriapods, which were the first builds to ever unlock the ability to breathe air, way back during the Silurian expansion. There are many
Wait, so things just weren't breathing air back
make for a fearsome display for any player looking to challenge them in combat. But has their ancient strategy held up in the face of the immense power creep the game has seen? Is having dozens upon dozens of legs much of an improvement over just having a few?
That's a millipede, actually.
Let's take a closer look at the stats and abilities of centipedes and millipedes, and ultimately decide where they fall on the tier
list. Are there
list.
different types?
Yeah,
First, let's take a look at their stats and abilities.
No, like,
and for this section,
I know
we'll
like
show
millipedes have more legs. Like I think they have like 1,000 legs, and centipedes only have like 100. That's why it's like centipedes.
I don't understand how you move their legs. Like, how you move
I don't
your
know.
legs
Maybe it's like a muscle memory or something.
Probably,
Like we move our legs. Well, we don't have to, but still.
both the centipede and millipede base stats. Both centipedes and millipedes have solid defensive stats. They're both part of the arthropod faction and inherit the exoskeletal armor perk, granting them dramatically higher base defense compared to similarly sized soft-bodied invertebrates, such as slugs or velvet worms. Their chitinous exoskeleton can deflect most basic attacks from players at or below their weight class. There is a meaningful difference between the two on this front, though. Millipedes have interlocking articulated plates, leaving essentially zero gaps in their armor other than on the underside where all their leg joints are. Centipedes, on the other hand, do have gaps in their armor, particularly in between segments on their sides between their legs. Unlike millipedes, which have their leg joints attached on their underside, centipede leg joints are located on the side of the centipede, making these weak points much more difficult to defend.
Damn, they all got
this
the legs
results in a much
out.
higher defense stat for millipedes.
Is that a roach?
But the trade-off is pretty obvious when you look at their other major difference, their mobility stat.
Ew!
Millipedes have a speed stat that is only slightly higher than that of a snail, which is incredibly low given that snails don't even have legs. Centipedes, with their less restrictive armor, are some of the quickest moving arthropods in the game, able to quickly weave in and around cover and scale walls in record.
Oh
Twitchy
no!
movement makes them tough to pin down, and because of their flat shape, they have a very easy time running for cover if threatened by a player in a higher weight class. But of course, the primary reason they're invested in a higher movement speed is because it synergizes well with the last major difference they have from millipedes, their power stat. Millipedes have no offensive moves at all. When confronted with an adversary, millipedes will respond by attempting to lock down their defenses even more tightly than they already are, in hopes that the aggressive player will simply
I'm not gonna lie. There used to be like millipedes in our house, like when we had the apartment.
Inside?
Yeah, like at the bottom. I think they were like coming in because on the apartment was like first floor, second floor. So all at the bottom, they were all there. We had termites too.
Really?
But like I used to like pet like this millipedes, and then they call it like a bomb. Don't act like you don't do shit with bugs.
I mean,
yeah. Okay. Okay.
They'll curl up into a ball in order to guard their already small number of weak points, and may also begin secreting noxious and/or toxic chemicals to dissuade persistent predators from risking poison damage.
I'm hungry.
Centipedes may attempt to curl and take some hits, but more often than not, they'll opt to either flee or rely on their powerful offense to substitute for their lackluster defense. The centipede's jaws, which are really their two front legs, have been modified into hypodermic daggers, able to pierce armor and inflict venom to deal devastating damage.
Frog?
The rest of their stats are pretty similar, as most myriapods sport fairly generic mid-level camo. Nothing too impressive, but enough to beat the average player's passive perception as long as they remain motionless. Both centipedes and millipedes sometimes sport vibrant aposematic coloration as well, forgoing stealth and replacing it with intimidation,
hard, actually.
flexing how toxic their poison or venom is. And as a fairly ancestral lineage of arthropods, it's no surprise their intelligence stat is quite low, as they were introduced to the game during a time before intelligence builds were even remotely viable, and have opted to refine their core strategy rather than respec into a higher intelligence build. Unfortunately, this locks them out of the higher level perception perks like binocular vision and compound eyes.
No, that's not what I was.
mainly
No,
relying on
I
most-
said there was millipedes, the little small ones, the small ones that look like they're like thick. On there with a lot of legs, it's like small. You've been watching the video the whole time. You know what I'm talking about.
So you would pet the small one.
Yeah, the ones that's like going like this. They got the little legs in it. I feel like that. And they curl into the wall. That's not bad. Not centipedes though. Centipedes are nasty. Centipedes
basic
are
options for
disgusting.
detecting enemies, like simple eyes, chemoreception,
You
and
lucky you
tremor
have a
sense.
centipede as a pet.
As far as other unique abilities go,
Honestly.
myriapods don't
Stop.
have all that much. This is a little unfair because when they were first patched into the game, their most important unique ability was their ability to breathe on dry
Back in my
land.
day, breathing was OP.
However, as the game's meta has progressed, air breathing has become one of the
breath.
most common abilities in the game, making myriapods much less
What was the
unique
problem?
and honestly a bit obsolete. One other special ability they do have is auto-mimicry. It is quite difficult to tell at a glance which end of a
It
centipede
is. I
the
want
head,
a rat.
as their
I miss
back
my
end
hamster.
also looks almost identical. In fact, in some ways, the back end even functions as a head, as it also has highly sensitive structures similar to antennae.
He
The
wasn't
reason
dead
this
though.
matters is that the best
My
way to
hamster?
disable
Ew.
Ew, what's going on? I'm wrong. My hamster though, remember Furby? He wasn't dead.
I thought he died.
No, so what happened was, a little story time, y'all. So when I was little, I had me a little hamster named Furby. Yeah, rest in peace, Furby. Because now my dad killed him. I'm gonna tell you how he killed him. So it was around fall time, and you know, hamsters, they hibernate like mouses and stuff like that when it comes to like winter. So what happened, he was underneath like the little grass and shit that I had, and the little tank. And my dad picked him up. He's like, oh nah, he's dead. I'm like, no, he's not. He's hibernating. Cause back then, even right now, like I was reading books about animals and stuff, so I know about hibernating. I'm like, it's the fall. Of course, he's hibernating. And my dad just picked him up, threw him in the trash, and he was like, yep, we gotta get him out of here. And I was like, he's not dead, but he probably is. Well, he definitely died after that. After that, he definitely died. Rest in peace, Furby.
sensitive structures similar to antennae. The reason this matters is that the best way to disable and defeat a centipede is to attack its head first before it has a chance to respond. If an attacking player has a 50% chance to accidentally attack the wrong end, that gives centipedes a chance to counterattack for massive damage or escape. So those are the base stats and abilities of the myriad.
Yo!
But how
It
do these traits
decapitated
actually
it.
stack up against the current meta? While their stats seem solid at first glance, the game's power creep has severely limited their viability. Expansion after expansion, the devs have expanded access to the myriapod's formerly exclusive abilities, and introduced new abilities to the game which function as counterplay options against centipedes and millipedes, allowing newer builds to more efficiently exploit their weaknesses.
Ew.
For example, the introduction of the beak attribute dramatically improved the bird build's matchup against centipedes, as the disjointed hitbox makes the risk of a counterattack less of a concern. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's first discuss the centipede. The centipede's bite is one of the strongest
Ew! You used
enough
to
to
have
make
those
some
around your
snook
house.
names
What are you
jealous.
saying?
They're
Ew.
still there.
Compared
Ew,
against the
really?
power
They
of a
come out every
scorpion's
year, but I
sting,
hate it.
That's
the bite has
disgusting.
higher
I go
raw
outside every
damage
time.
and armor-piercing potential, but weaker venom. By itself, this makes it one of the most formidable attacking moves in the entire arthropod faction. So with that in mind, the viability of the centipede really comes down to how reliable the rest of the centipede's game plan is at enabling the use of this vicious attack. And unfortunately, this is where the cracks start to show
That
in
is a
this
long-ass
ancient build's
centipede.
game plan. When this move connects, the damage it deals is devastating, but landing a strike with the centipede's bite is easier said than done. For starters, while the centipede's base movement speed is quite solid, it lacks the surprise burst mobility that so many predators rely on. Centipedes just sort of scurry around, hoping that they'll eventually catch them
Cheetahs
to
used
play
to be my
off guard.
favorite animal.
But as
And I
long as you
learned
remain
about them.
vigilant, centipede attacks
Cheetahs.
are about as predictable and telegraphed
Yeah,
as they come.
now once I
Centipedes
learned
have
about
pretty
them,
low
they're not.
stealth and make no attempts to conceal
You ever heard about
themselves as they
cheetahs?
approach a
We
target.
gotta talk about it later.
So as long as your character's passive perception is halfway decent,
podcast, so we about
you
to
should
get
have plenty
to
of
that.
opportunity to react and escape before they get within striking range. Their poor vision also undermines their
Why is
ability
it
to
done like
pursue
that?
prey as they flee, even though they easily have the
They
speed
can't
to chase
see?
them down. The only
It's
mistake
right
players
there.
commonly make is attempting to stand their ground and fight them off, rather than taking the easy way out and fleeing before they can deal any damage. In addition to their lack of ability to ambush, centipedes also have such a low
What was that?
intelligence stat that fairly rudimentary
tapeworm?
stealth tactics, things like basic camouflage and hiding behind partial cover, are highly
I
effective
do not
against
see
them,
him.
and can cause an aggressive centipede to completely miss their opportunity to attack
What?
as they run right past
She
you.
just went away.
It's worth noting that one subclass of centipedes does have the
is it?
compound eyes perk
Oh,
and
it's
also
a
sports
centipede.
an even higher base movement speed, one of the fastest in the entire arthropod faction. But these centipedes, called
Wait.
house centipedes,
I heard about.
much
I
more
was just about to
damage
say that.
output.
I heard about house centipedes. I think that's only in Australia because I've never seen that before.
No,
House
I don't think
centipedes.
I don't think.
They said that it's
an
supposed to be
American
just
thing.
in your house, and once you see them, you're supposed to just let them go.
No,
No,
absolutely.
no. If I saw that 100%, you get one of these.
Not for real.
Definitely one of those. That hurt my
and
foot.
defense
Ah.
stats, and mostly just prey on low-tier insects like silverfish and crickets. Even in their own niche of rush-down
Oh
arthropod
my gosh,
bugs,
that's a very hairy
centipedes have been
spider.
power crept by the solifugid, also known
It's
as the sun
tussling.
spider or camel spider,
It's
which is
tussling.
significantly
Actually.
faster on foot, and although it isn't venomous, the raw damage this thing can put out absolutely shreds through anything caught in its path. The sun spider definitely deserves its own video though, so I'll save further analysis for
It's
later.
breeding?
Switching over to millipedes,
see it?
things still aren't
It's
great,
like-
but they do fare a
Oh,
bit
okay.
better. Millipedes are highly resistant to enemy attacks, there's no denying that.
Right.
Few builds in the game are better equipped to tank a ton of hits from an onslaught of attackers.
What about roly-polies?
However, the millipede's main method of deterring predators,
Oh, I
its
heard
toxin,
about this.
is pretty underwhelming. It doesn't deal damage quick enough to really deter persistent
Yo!
predators, at least
They
within the
built a
insect
whole
family.
assembly line.
Most arthropods have solid poison resistance stats, so these types of toxins tend to really only make a difference against bird, amphibian, and rodent mains.
He's
If
overreacting.
millipedes could spec into a more potent chemical defense, similar to the bombardier
Ew.
beetle, they might be a bit more dangerous to attack. But as it stands,
She's just
assuming
there.
you can handle a small amount of poison damage, it can be worth it to continue attacking and fishing for a crit, because even the millipede's armor isn't completely invincible. This weakness at least doesn't impede their primary objective, as even though they have just as terrible of
Claws have
eyesight
teeth?
as centipedes, or
they
potentially
just
even
swallow
worse in the
it
case
whole?
of some, this doesn't stop them from easily finding the moss and detritus that they need to live on. In addition, some millipedes do opt for a different style of defense, with
Yo,
barbed
it actually
bristles
looks
that are
hard,
highly
like
effective at
Godzilla
deterring
from-
ants. This is less effective against birds and rodents, but much better against other arthropods. So while both have counterplay, millipedes have options when it comes to adapting to their local meta. One major area I think both centipedes
Kinda
and
look a little
millipedes
cute,
could
that's why
improve in
I
is
petted
making
them.
better use of their abundance of legs.
You don't
Centipedes have
know.
only two modified pairs of limbs, their front legs, which have been modified into fangs, and their back legs, which have been modified into antennae. That still leaves several dozen other legs that they could probably afford to
What is
convert
this
into
camera
more
where you're just
useful
like, get him,
engines.
get him, get him?
Not for real.
Having similar jaw-like legs on their back
need you
end
to
would
run through the grass
synergize
this
well
way.
with their
We're
auto
recording.
mimicry ability, and make it so that there's no end you could attack safely. And for the millipede, although they aren't as combat-focused, I think they would still benefit from speccing into some other utility options, like for example, fossorial legs to allow them to dig underground. They have a lot of options, but right now, I genuinely think that myriapods are barely managing to do with dozens of legs what most
That's why I don't
arthropods
like
do with
cats,
only a
bro.
few.
You're the crap.
Ultimately, I do think both
Where's that
builds
come
have
from?
been massively power crept and cannot justify putting them any higher than the low tiers.
Right. They're all
Terrifying
the
as
way
the
down
centipede may be, I actually think it fares even worse than the scorpion, given how simple and easily countered its game plan is once you know the matchup. They're going firmly in F tier. Millipedes do
Yeah.
fare better
I would
for
expect
sure,
that.
as
I
their
would expect
tanky,
that.
toxic defensive strategy is tricky to overcome. But with the right strategy or with a significant size advantage,
No, they have to
millipedes
be an
present
F, though.
very little challenge. In addition, poisonous millipedes suffer
There's
from
no
their
way you
own
put a
success
millipede
in that
above
some higher
centipedes.
intelligence
They
builds,
still gotta
like
be right
lemurs
there.
and monkeys, actually deliberately trigger their toxic defense ability and then rub the toxin on their fur to gain a temporary bug repellent buff, before either discarding or eating the millipede. So, while I think you could definitely make the argument that they at least make it out of F tier and belong in D tier,
No.
I don't think they belong any higher than that.
I don't know how I feel
I
about
think they
that.
should be in D tier.
Oh, you think both of them should be in D tier? Or just the millipedes? I don't, me
Nah, I
personally, I don't think he should put one above the other.
I don't know.
Like-
probably the centipede in D tier.
The centipede in D tier and then
Or am I
like switch right
tripping?
around. I think he's putting the millipede up there because of the armor, but even then, like,
Yeah,
they can't
the
do anything
armor-
back.
Yeah, but I see that's why I think the other one, because it actually be fighting back. Like
Yeah,
it can fight
right.
back
Literally,
opponents.
it literally fights
It be
back,
tussling with
and
it.
it has armor too. It's not like it doesn't have armor.
Exactly.
It's just like a little lighter. Yeah, I think it should be swapped. Probably.
Yeah.
If not them, if not, like they both need to be on F tier. But Centipede definitely needs to be better than.
Whether you want to play as a fast-moving damage dealer or a slow, toxic tank, there are much better options available to you than Centipedes or Millipedes. Myriapods simply have too many gaps in their defense,
Wow, they
both
actually
in their
go and
physical
grab
armor
every leg.
and their game plan overall. You can be as careful as possible, but if your defenses have obvious exploits, you'll always be vulnerable. This is true not just for survival in the wilderness, but also for your personal data online. If you drop seriously concerning lists against my
I mean, at least you put it at the
You
end.
put it at the end. You know what? TierZoo. I applaud you for putting it at the end because some they put it right in the
Right in
middle.
the middle.
And then I got skipped. But that's it. That's the end of TierZoo. How you feel about Centipedes?
I don't know. I'm kind of mad about it. I feel like they're not getting enough love
Why?
because they have defense.
Calm down.
Calm down.
Calm down.
But like you said, you have to know the game plan. If you don't know the game plan, what can you really do with it?
What game plan?
Like you gotta know, like how the birds, like you know, they could just like swoop down. Like they know, okay, I can just pick up the beak and do the beak thing.
I can pick up the beat and do the big thing. What are you talking about?
I just think that they deserve a little bit more love.
I don't think so. I think he put them exactly where
They're
he-
small and tiny, but they got armor. And they can fight back opponents that are bigger than them.
Don't every bug like almost have armor?
I don't think so.
What bugs don't have armor? Like
Caterpillar.
aphids? Caterpillars? Okay.
Worms.
I guess that's a bug. Okay. But like I think caterpillars and worms like deserve to be down there.
Yeah, they should be F tier.
Exactly.
So that makes Centipedes.
Okay,
Millipedes
okay.
D tier.
I do agree with you. They should be in D tier, but like no higher. Like
No, no higher
The
than that.
lowest of D tier. In my
Okay.
like very low.
Okay, I can get with that. I can
Yeah,
agree with that.
very low. Like millipedes, like last place, centipede right in front of them.
Exactly. I agree with that.
That's how I feel. Thank you guys for coming here. Please make sure, because she said it last time, make sure you subscribe and like every video. And hit that bell, because once you subscribe, it got a little bell beside it. If y'all don't know, you press it, then you press all on it, then you know when I'm posting new videos. And I'm going to see you guys in the next video.